everyone, and welcome back to my channel, Tomcat Stitchery. I'm Whitney and I've got a somewhat chatty video for you today. So as you'll notice, I'm in a different, I've moved my chair. I moved my sewing room around. If you're watching the daily vlogs, you've seen that just a little bit to enable me to have better filming angles for the sew-alongs. So if you're watching the sew-along on Sunday, I know that there were some issues with the overhead shot. I have, rest assured, I'm working on it. This is all a learning process. I had a bit of a meltdown, a frustration meltdown, just in myself. You know, it's just, I can show you guys the sewing, like no problem. It's just I have a way that I want things to look in my head from a filming aspect, but I don't have the expertise yet to make that happen. So I'm getting there. It's been, slower than I want, but you know, it's all a process and we'll just get better little by little. Oh, there she's finally joining us. Come in. So anyway, we've moved the sewing room around just a wee bit so that I can get the camera in. Come on. Come on. So that I can get the camera into places that I wasn't able to before because of this support post actually that's right behind me was causing, oh sure, your world. Your seat there. So anyway, actually having us all in quarantine together as a family, it's been really lovely. I often forget, you know, I've got a second set of eyes in my husband, and he's actually very willing to share his opinion. So I've been trying to take full advantage of that. And then my business partner here, she was up scavenging for food. My husband was eating a granola bar at his office desk upstairs. So she's gonna be so chubby when this is all said and done. So chubby. All right, so today I have a video. I'm going to be talking about, number one, my favorite places to buy fabric online, as well as my favorite independent pattern companies. I've had a couple of requests for this video, and in talking about places I like to buy fabric online, I'm gonna talk a little bit about how you can lessen the risk of buying fabric online, I guess, to make sure you're getting some quality things. I'm also playing around with my lights here. Is that better? Well, that might be a little bit better. Okay. All right, so let's start with fabric stores. So I've made a list down here on my phone that I'm going to be referencing just because I don't want to forget anybody. And I also want to preface this with saying there are a ton of really great fabric stores that are out there. I'm in the US, so obviously not all of these. There's one on here that is from New Zealand and one that's on here from Canada. But if you guys have some great fabric stores that you really, really love using, and the small local ones are fantastic, let me know down below and I can definitely do an updated video on this. It might just be kind of a nice resource for us all to have, especially right now while things are closed and we're really relying on online shopping. But yeah, these are just ones that I just tend to go to because I've had great luck. And so when you're buying fabric online, one of the things that I can definitely say helps make sure that you are getting good stuff, and maybe even stuff buying what you think you're buying, basically, is to have a few just tried and true fabric stores where you just know you can kind of learn their descriptions. So if they say, for instance, that a knit is medium weight, well, what does that mean? That can mean a ton of different things to different people. But if you're ordering from, you know, one certain fabric store, let's say, of which you love their knit, then you kind of always know, well, their medium knit means this, or their heavyweight knit means this. So that is definitely a great way to shop for fabric online, which unfortunately takes some time. But finding some great ones that you really like and then learning what their descriptions kind of mean can really help in the fabric buying, the online fabric buying. That being said, it has been my experience that the smaller fabric stores are it's a little less of a risk to buy fabric from them, only because a lot of times they have a little bit more curated selection, and a lot of times they're a little bit pricier, but you know, you get what you pay for in most circumstances. Now, I'm not saying there aren't great discount fabric stores that are online out there, but I find with those, a lot of times it's hit or miss. You know, you may get some really great things for fantastic prices, or you may get really crappy things. For instance, rayon jersey. Rayon jersey is not all created equal. Sometimes you can get a really great rayon jersey that drapes beautifully, that wears well, that, you know, everything is great. And then you can also get a rayon jersey that the first time you wash, technically you should not dry. I always wash and dry my fabric when I first get it, just because in case that item gets into the dryer accidentally, you know that it won't shrink. Really, with dryers don't like spandex or any kind of elastic or elastane or lycra, so keeping them out of the dryer is always the best option, and that is true with most jerseys. Most jerseys have, not most, a lot of jerseys will have like a spandex content, which we'll talk about that in just a second, but definitely letting things air dry, or even just putting them into the dryer for a little bit. A lot of times I'll let things air dry for a while and then maybe throw them into the dryer for just, I don't know, 5-10 minutes at like a medium heat, just to kind of soften them up a little bit, you know, get all those like extra wrinkles out. I do that with a lot of my stuff that I let air dry, actually. In fact, even with this dress, because I like linen when it has that kind of soft, rumpled texture, but obviously I don't want like severe creases in my linen. I mean, that just looks rumpled and awful. So I find that I wash this dress, this is my Monty, wash this dress, let it hang to air dry, and then when I'm ready to wear it, I pop it into the dryer with a damp washcloth, and then it comes out just perfectly rumpled, and I don't have to worry about hitting it with an iron, because I don't particularly like my linen starched. I know that that is a personal preference, but that's kind of an example. So yes, so definitely finding some fabric stores that you really trust and that you really like. The quality of their stuff is definitely important. Again, you can still get some great deals from some of the bigger people, but if you're new to online fabric buying or have maybe not had the best luck in the past, that's a great place to start. I will say I have definitely had times in the past where I have thought, you know, oh, this is such a great deal, and bought a lot of, you know, of a certain fabric just to decide that, no, this is really crappy rayon. And not just rayon jersey, even like a rayon challis. It's super thin, it's very shifty, things are off grain. So I have just come to find that for me, it's just better to go with the tried and true. Even if I am paying more money, I usually get a better product in the end. So that's kind of my own personal preference. I'm just a little more picky with what I will buy now, as opposed to buying in bulk. I mean, let's be honest, I still kind of buy in bulk, but I try and be a lot more selective in what I'm buying. All right, so I'm gonna go through my favorite fabric stores really quick here for you. Number one, you've probably heard me talk about all of these a million times. And also, these are also fabric stores that I have purchased from quite a few times. Again, there's gonna be great ones out there that maybe I just haven't personally shopped from yet. But yeah, let me know. I'm always up for more fabric stores. But first is Blackbird Fabrics. I'm sure you all have heard of Blackbird Fabrics. They are in Canada, in the Vancouver area, excuse me. And she has a smallish online fabric store, but I can honestly say all of her stuff is top-notch quality. She does mostly solid stuff. She does have occasionally, will have prints. A lot of times those sell like that. That is also the thing with her fabric store. When she gets new stuff in, you've really got to shop it because her stuff sells out really quickly. But she'll get in some neat like rayons, or even she'll get some high-end like poly crepes. Or, you know, she gets a lot of natural fiber stuff, but she does occasionally carry some, you know, really nice polyesters. But most of her stuff tends to be solid, so they're great for staples and for basics. I shop her a lot for like my basic, both knits and wovens in my wardrobe. She has a lot of really good stuff. Second is Stylemaker Fabrics, and I am somewhat new to Stylemaker Fabrics. I mean, they've been around for a long time, and I've heard a lot of people rave of them. I just had not purchased anything from them, but I bought something from them last year and was very pleased with the speed of which my package arrived, with the cost of shipping. I was pleased with my whole experience, really. And so I actually placed a somewhat large order with them around my birthday with some birthday money, and have loved everything that I got from them. I'm finding that I'm going to check them for mostly prints, although I've gotten some solids for them, but they're rayons. They've just got gorgeous stuff. The cotton lawn or voile that I'm using in my sew along right now came from them. So just a lot of really interesting, beautiful things that I am finding from them. She is a little bit pricier, but I have not had a single thing, and I purchased quite a bit now. I've not had a single thing from her that has been anything less than like really nice quality. Her rayons are even more stable. So I made a jumpsuit recently out of a rayon challis from her, and it was a nice thicker rayon challis, so it did not shift nearly as badly as some of the less expensive ones will shift. So you know, you just get, it's easier to sew basically. So that is that one. Emma One Sock. Emma One Sock has got, she kind of has the gamut. She's got some really expensive fabric, but she also has some stuff that is much more reasonable. They a lot of times will do a 15% off sale at the end of the month, and sometimes it's only on sale items and roll-in cuts, but a lot of times they'll do like a site-wide 15% off sale. Usually it's not on everything, but she also has a lot of staples that she keeps in stock. Her rayon jersey is phenomenal, and it's an 11 ounce. It's the 11 ounce rayon, and it is a gorgeous substrate, and she carries it in a ton of different colors. Her ponte is also extremely nice stuff. She carries a really nice, all in solids, but a few different colors of that as well. And then she just has some really interesting things that'll pop up. Another thing that I really love about Emma One Sock is that she will list on the side. So if you pick up a print and you're looking at a print of hers online, she will have next to it a whole list of coordinating fabrics that they have pulled that will go with this fabric. So let's say you find a silk that you really love and you're thinking, oh, that'd make a gorgeous blouse. She'll have a whole selection of, number one, it makes it a little easier to see what colors are in that print because she'll have a list of solids that could coordinate with that. But you could buy, you know, any fabric that you wanted to coordinate for a bottom, you know, for pants or a skirt or whatever to go with that fabric. Or even like a cardigan, you know, she'll have sweater knits that coordinate. I really love that they do that. It makes it really, really easy. And in normal circumstances, I'm not sure if they're doing their swatch service right now, but she will do up to 5 swatches for free, which is also very, very handy. And I've used that on quite a few occasions. Now, I will say that her stuff will go quickly too, especially she gets a lot of designer stuff. So if a designer thing comes in, a lot of times you got to strike while the iron's hot if you see something you really love. So it's definitely worth it to be checking her new arrivals pretty frequently because she's got some really cool stuff. But all of her stuff has been nothing but phenomenal that I've ever bought. I love shopping her roll-ins, especially when she has this extra 15% off, because you can get, you know, they're a lot of times sizable cuts, and yeah, you can have a lot of fun with those. All right, next up is Stone Mountain & Daughter. They are in Berkeley, California. They are have a brick and mortar shop and then their online store. They have a pretty big selection of fabrics, but I will say, they were having an issue there with shipping being really expensive, so I would find things on there and put things together, and then my shipping was like $20. So then I would shy away from that. But I think they have fixed that now, and now it is much more reasonable with the shipping. I'm sure right now they're probably running slow. Almost all online shops right now seem to be running slower with their shipping just because, you know, smaller staffs, increased demand because everyone's ordering online right now. But they have got a phenomenal selection of pretty much everything. That's another one to really check their new ends, their new arrivals. I have used knits of theirs that are gorgeous. I've used all sorts of different of their substrates. I've shopped a lot from them, and they've got they kind of have things that run the gamut too, and the more expensive stuff versus things that are a little bit more affordable. Yeah, that kind of stuff. So I really love Stone Mountain & Daughter. Okay, the Fabric Store, which is the New Zealand shop that's down in New Zealand. So they have, they're my favorite linens. They still are my favorite linen. I talked a little bit about that on the daily vlog, and I'll talk about the other shop here in just a second too. But they have got the most phenomenal arrangement and a ton of colors of their premium range of linens, which come in kind of a mid to lightweight linen, you know, stuff for dresses. I would make dresses, shirts, and tops out of that weight. And then they also have a few of the a pretty sizable amount of those colors as well in the heavyweight, which is definitely more of like a jacket and pant weight. Skirts as well. And they also have a gorgeous selection of their premium range of merino jersey, merino wool jersey, which I have shopped or I've sewn with quite a few times. It's a little pricier, but it is phenomenal. Someone had mentioned that a lot of times they'll make their underwear and stuff out of merino, wonderful long underwear, you know, for winter months and that kind of thing. They're great base layers, great base layer fabric, but I wear it in the summer as well because merino wool is antimicrobial, and so it's great for working out, and it wicks. It's just a really great natural fiber. It is a little bit on the pricey end, but I also want to say, when you are looking at their website, note that all their prices are in New Zealand dollars, which are quite a bit higher than the US dollar. So for instance, they do free shipping on $200 of New Zealand, if you spend $200 in New Zealand dollars, which comes to right now about $140 in US dollars. So there's a pretty big range. I think their regular linen appears to be $26 normally per yard, or per meter, sorry. They're in New Zealand, they do sell per meter. But if you take that to the USD, it's like $15 in USD. So do keep that in mind. And they do have a toggle at the top that allows you to switch to USD, so you can look at all the prices in USD instead of the New Zealand dollar, but the default is New Zealand, so it does look like things are much more pricier than they are. And then with their other stuff, it's a much smaller curated selection of their other things. They carry quite a bit of Liberty fabric, but then they'll have some really beautiful knits occasionally. My taupe and vanilla striped cotton fabric that I made my boat neck shirt out of for the Great Module Sew Along, that came from them. It is a organic cotton jersey, so it does not include any spandex. So for that, you will need to, you know, you wouldn't want to do a tight-fitting shirt in that because it won't have the recovery, you know, where it pops back into shape. You know, you have a lot of bagging out and that kind of thing for knit fabric that does not have any spandex in it. But anyway, I really love them. They're one of my favorites. Okay, and then on that note, Fabric-Store, which I'm going to leave links to all these shops and all these pattern companies down below so you guys can really easily go and have a look. But they sell primarily linen, and I tried them out recently. Their prices are cheaper than the Fabric Store. It's not as soft as the Fabric Store's linen, but it is less expensive. And they have some great deals that they run and some really fun products, and I'm excited to sew with a lot of their stuff. And I've read a lot of good things about the color fastness of their linen, that it washes and wears really, really well as well. So I'm very excited to get going on their stuff. But that's another thing I just want to point out. Just remember, when you're buying fabric, not all the time, but a lot of times, you know, you're paying for what you get. So Fabric-Store has great linen, and it's fantastic. It is not as soft as the Fabric Store. So, you know, if you would rather spend, if your budget wants, you know, if that's more important, the budget is more important, and it's more important for you to spend less on that, it is fantastic linen. But if you prefer something a little bit softer and don't mind spending a little bit more for a little higher quality, then the Fabric Store. Or maybe you want to mix it a little bit, which is probably what I'll do. I'll probably just mix a little bit, depending on what my budget is at the time when I'm purchasing more. I'm pretty heavy on linen at the moment, so I probably won't be buying any more for the foreseeable future, but you know, it's good to have in my, you know, in the old Rolodex in my head there. Okay, another one I wanted to talk about is the sewing workshop. So they're also on my pattern list. This is Linda Lee. She is in Topeka, Kansas, and she's got a very wonderful line of independent patterns that she does. And then she has a curated fabric store that basically is stuff that goes with her fabric, or with her patterns. I have had the pleasure of actually taking a workshop of hers in her shop in Topeka, where I was able to actually shop the fabric in person. But she has a wonderful website, and it's just a lot of really neat things. Now, they do carry some solid stuff that is great for your basics and that kind of thing, but then they also carry some really interesting things that you may not see elsewhere. Some of their stuff can be quite pricey. I mean, they've got some silks that are like $65 a yard, but then they also have things that are much more reasonable, you know, down below $20 a yard for certain rayons and that kind of thing. But she does look at her, when she's shopping, she buys, she is the buyer, so it is with her curated eye that she purchases these fabrics, and I would not hesitate at all about the quality of any of these. Everything is pretty spot on. She also carries some of the Alabama Channon School of Making, their organic cotton that doesn't have any spandex. It's 100% cotton. So you do need to take that into consideration when making, you and make a little bit more loose fitting tops and that kind of thing with that type of fabric. But it's all made here in the USA. The cotton's grown here. It is manufactured here. Everything is done right here in the US. It's a little pricier. It's like almost $30 a yard, but it is beautiful stuff, and I've worked with it before. It's pretty amazing. It's pretty gorgeous. She does do sales every now and again, which is definitely worth watching out for. In the past, it's been a biannual sale, so or maybe it's just an annual sale. I think it happens about the fall, maybe. But anyway, definitely want to, you know, sign up for that newsletter because she does have some really beautiful things. All right, and then finally is the Fabric Fairy. Now, I was first introduced to the Fabric Fairy for their swimsuit knit, and I have had phenomenal success with their swimsuit knit. They've got board short fabric, they've got just the swimsuit lycra. It's beautiful. Now, she has expanded into a lot of activewear stuff. So some stretch wovens for activewear, the dry wick, you know, the wicking away stuff, that kind of thing. I've not tried any of that stuff. I think she carries Suplex as well, which is like the really, really nice legging fabric. But she's got a whole big range, and that's kind of, knits are kind of her thing. She does carry some wovens, like I said, like the board shorts and some of the stretch wovens. But that is really her niche, and she's got some amazing, amazing stuff. Now, she does carry some really nice garment knits as well. So definitely worth taking a look. She's got some more juvenile ones that are great for kids' clothes and that kind of thing. She has some of the Nosh line, which I think are an organic cotton. They are a little bit, they're pricey, but if that's kind of your thing. But then she's got definitely less expensive knits. But I just again want to say, keep in mind when you're spending less on a knit, it's probably going to be a little bit less quality than one that is higher. And I know that that's not always the case. There's definitely overpriced fabrics, and you can definitely get a good deal on some really nice stuff too. But just as a general rule of thumb, that's just kind of what I have found in online shopping. Okay, so I wanted to talk, I've had a lot of questions about buying knits online, especially since t-shirt week. So my favorite substrate for t-shirts is a cotton spandex blend. Now, this is because I love the way that cotton wears and the way that it washes. So cotton has a little bit more resilience when it comes to the washing machine and the dryer. Again, if you're using something with spandex, you do need to be careful because the dryer and spandex do not like each other. But I've just had a little bit better luck with my cotton spandex in the dryer than with my rayon spandex in the dryer. So just keep that in mind. However, they definitely both have their uses. So I enjoy cotton spandex for t-shirts because I like a more fitted, structured t-shirt. Now, that might not be for everyone. You may really like a nice drapey t-shirt, then rayon jersey is definitely, or a rayon spandex blend or a bamboo spandex blend are definitely for you. Now, I love a good rayon jersey for like a wrap dress or a wrap top or something where I want it to just really drape beautifully. I think that those are fantastic fabrics for that. So it's all just about kind of learning your tastes and what you like. And gosh, and I hate to say it, it's the same way with fitting, but it's almost one of those trial, you just got to keep doing it and keep doing it until you can kind of figure it out, because yeah, you'll just become more attuned to what you enjoy wearing for certain garments, and yeah, and those kind of things and what to look for. I also wanted to talk about, there's a few of these fabric stores that actually list pattern suggestions of what you could make with that fabric. Blackbird does this. I was looking at a few of these do this, but that is very, very helpful because even though you may not be making the Sienna Maker jacket, for instance, maybe you're wanting to make a jacket out of this fabric and you're wondering if this cotton twill is heavy duty enough for a jacket. Well, when you see down below that there are a couple of jacket patterns that are listed, then that's a great indicator to know, okay, this will probably work for the project that I want at hand. Or, you know, maybe this is a cotton twill that's a little bit thinner and maybe better for a skirt as opposed to, you know, a pair of jeans or whatever, you know, like a pair of pants that you're making from a jean pattern. So I've also found that that's super helpful, and a lot of these smaller fabric stores will definitely list some pattern suggestions, and I think that's a great aid in deciding if it's going to work for your project, even if you're not making the suggested patterns that they have listed. Okay, I think that's about kind of wraps it up. If anyone else has questions, I've definitely thought about doing like a little mini series talking a little bit more about different fabric substrates and just kind of sprinkling those throughout the rest of the year. You know, maybe talking a little bit more about rayon or a little bit more about knit or whatever. So if that's something that's of interest, let me know, and I can definitely sprinkle those like little tutorials in between sew-alongs. I always like to do like a little breather week between sew-alongs, so that would be a nice little tutorial to sprinkle in every now and again, talking about different fabric substrates. So let me know if that's interesting to you, and I can definitely talk more about that. All right, now let's talk about patterns, my favorite independent patterns. This is going to be a lengthy video. I'm already at 25 minutes. Hope you guys don't mind listening to me talk. Okay, so I'm a big fan of both independent patterns and commercial patterns, and I think that they both can serve wonderful purposes. Now, I am lucky that I'm here in the US where we can get the commercial patterns for real steals, although not as much. You kind of have to really hunt for them now. They're not, since they've got new ownership, it's a little bit different than it used to be. But still, we still get some great deals on those. But I'm also a huge fan of the independent pattern world, because I just find that a lot of times they are maybe drafted a little more, well, the instructions are more in depth. The drafting is usually spot on, and you have someone to kind of hold your hand if you have an issue. Almost all, in fact, I would say probably all. Good. Can you hear the snoring? That is my dog. Excuse her. So loud. That smushed little face causes some snoring. But I have found that with almost all independent pattern designers, if you're having an issue with one of their patterns, usually one email and you get almost an immediate response and help in that way, which is quite a bit different than if you're sewing a McCall's or Butterick or Vogue or Simplicity or whatever type of pattern. So I have picked patterns here that are ones that I have enjoyed sewing. Again, there's a lot of patterns out there that I just haven't made up yet. So from different pattern companies, and actually there's a couple that I have purchased recently that I'm very excited to make up. I just haven't had a chance to make up yet, so I don't feel like I can list them yet. I'm very hopeful though. All right, so the first, these first couple aren't going to come to any surprise to any of you if you watch my channel. Itch to Stitch. I love Itch to Stitch patterns. Now, her size range is not as big as some of these others, but it does go up. I think she goes up to a size 20 or a size 22. I should have checked that before I got on. But what I love most about her patterns is that she offers cup sizes. So she offers cup sizes for all of her woven patterns, which I love, because it's, I mean, I can make her size 8 with a D cup with a lot of times just maybe shortening the sleeves. Sometimes I'll have to shorten the body. Occasionally I'll have to do a little bit of a narrow shoulder adjustment depending on what the pattern is, but I can almost sew it straight from the pattern. So they just fit me really well. And that, with pattern companies, you will find a pattern company that maybe fits you really well just because the sloper block that they draft their patterns off of just is very similar to your own body. So when you find that, hang on to that. That's always a great thing when you discover that. And Itch to Stitch is one that really fits me well. So I really love her. I do a lot of pattern testing for her. I'm also part of her affiliate program, so I do get a small commission on any patterns that you guys buy from the links that I put down below. And I try and be very transparent about that, but I really do love her stuff. And we've got a pattern reveal coming up, a new pattern coming out Friday for her, and it's a good one. So stay tuned, that's Friday's video. But anyway, she's definitely one of my favorite independent pattern companies. Another one is Love Notions. I think you've heard me sing their praises before as well. They have a huge size range. They go up from an extra small to a 5XL, and not in all of her patterns yet, but she is slowly making her way. All the new patterns definitely come in that new range, but she's working her way through the older patterns as well. The Rhapsody was just re-released in the new size range, and slowly making her way through that, starting with the most popular and then eventually working through all of them. So I love her stuff. They are, Not always though. I was gonna say that they're like nice classic staple, you know, simpler things, but not always. She's got some stuff with some really neat details, but one thing that I really love about her, she does have cup sizes. She'll have full bust fronts in her knit and her woven patterns, which are, if you have a bigger than a 4-inch difference between your upper bust and your full bust, you would use the full. I'm right on the line. I kind of have to go back and forth, but you'll use the full bust fronts, which is really helpful if you have boobs at all. But what I really love about her thing, not only that, the price point, it's just the same way they. Sorry, my camera stopped me. They both have really great price points, but what I really love about Love Notions is she includes a ton of variations in most of her patterns. The Rhapsody dress that was just re-released, it came, I think, like 6 different sleeve options, and then with a dress option, which you can just create like a whole wardrobe with just a couple of her patterns. So they're great staple workhorses. And they also have a pattern support Facebook page, if that's something where you can find help not only from Love Notions, but also other big fans of theirs that have sewn up a lot of their patterns. And the same with Itch to Stitch. She also has a Facebook page that you should definitely join if you're enjoying sewing up her patterns, because it's a great source of help if you're making anything and you're curious about fabric or fit or that kind of thing. It's just a great resource to have. All right, next up, closet case patterns. I have just had really good luck with all closet case patterns. I have been making her Cielo top and dress recently. I got on a total tear on that. I've really not made a single pattern of hers that I have not enjoyed. And her newer pattern, the Cielo, I'm not saying it right, Cielo, I think is it. Dress and top has cup sizes, so you can have a the standard front, which is a B cup. You can do the C cup front or the D cup front, which is also very helpful for those of us with fuller busts. Her Jessica blazer is the same way. I really hope she does more of that in the future because it's super helpful. The Sienna Maker jacket does not have that, but it has a lot of ease in the bust, which I think is why she didn't do it on that one. But anyway, I love her patterns. They're always drafted to a T. She's got classes, online classes on her website for some of the more in-depth ones, like a jeans and her swimsuit and her Jessica blazer all have classes that you can take where she holds your hand through the entire making process. She's very detail oriented and some great instructions. And she does things that are a little more intricate and a little harder, but breaks it up to where you just feel like you've really accomplished something when you finish one of her patterns. Oh, my phone went to sleep. All right, next up is Style Arc Patterns. I'm wearing their Monty dress right now. Now, whereas Closet Case does great hand holding with their instructions and very detailed, Style Arc's the opposite. They are very light on their instructions, but if you've been sewing for any amount of time, most of them you can kind of figure out. I am going to send her, I'm going to wait and send her an email and ask her if she would mind if I did some sew-alongs on a couple of her patterns, but I am going to wait until I get closer to wanting to do one. I just have kind of a queue right now of sew-along projects, but yeah, probably in June I'm going to send her an email and ask her if maybe she wouldn't mind if I did a sew-along with a couple of her patterns, and one of them I would do is probably the Monty dress. My sister really wants one, so I could make her one through the sew-along. But she has a huge catalog. Her designs are impeccable. The fit is just really good. I've had to make very few adjustments on the fit of her patterns. I've made 3 of her patterns. The Como cardigan, which is very big and oversized. There was no fitting involved in that except shortening the sleeves. I've made this Monty dress, and I've made the top, the Monty top, and I've made the Bryce jumpsuit. And I've just been very pleased with the outcome of all of those. They're drafted to a T. She puts in a ton of notches, so it makes sewing it pretty easy, especially if you are a somewhat seasoned seamstress. If you've done, you know, quite a bit of some garment sewing, it's really not bad. And I just really love all of her designs, her styles, and again, the fit and the drafting is just spot on. Okay, next up, a lot of these do have busts cup sizes because that is just what I'm drawn to. Next up is Liesl & Co. So I have made her Hollywood trousers and her neighborhood hoodie. I loved both of those patterns. The drafting is impeccable on those. She does with her PDFs. I've not made any of her printed patterns, but her PDFs have a nice grid pattern on them to make lining them up super easy. And I think she lays things out to where she tries to conserve as much paper as possible when you're doing those. And again, just the fit has been fantastic. And with a lot of her woven tops and dresses, she does have cup sizes, which you had me sold at that. Next up is also Cashmerette. Her, again, she reminds me actually a lot of Closet Case Patterns. Her drafting is impeccable. Her, she's got classes to hold your hand through some of her harder patterns. She is the queen of fitting a curvier body. Her patterns all have cup sizes that just range the gamut. She goes, gosh, I'm not sure what her size, I should have looked this up, what her size range is. I'm at the very bottom of it, and I will fall out of it occasionally, just depending on where I am in my autoimmune issue. But her stuff is just beautiful. I mean, she just has some really beautiful patterns. And she just keeps, you know, releasing more beautiful ones. So, and again, fitting is so easy with her stuff. Next up, So Altered Style. So I am mentioning them. They only have 3 patterns. They have the Misty Cami, the Dion Duster, and the Melinda Skirt. I have tested all 3 of those. I've been a tester for all 3 of those, and I'm mentioning them because their Misty Cami is it's my cami pattern. It is my camisole pattern. I love it. You've seen me make it a ton of times. It is my go-to. They also have cup sizes, and I've made, you've seen me in my Dion Duster 100 times as well. I just really like that. And my mustard skirt that is their Melinda, it's just, they're just good wardrobe staples, and I really love that they do the cup sizes when necessary. Okay, what else have we got here? Okay, Seamwork patterns. If you are new to sewing, I think joining the Seamwork club is a fantastic idea. They have got so many variations of patterns. I mean, just about anything you could possibly think of. And they have a wonderful community associated with their patterns. So if you're having issues, it's free to join their online community. And if you're having any issues, or you know, you've made something up, or you can see what other people have done with a certain pattern, it's just, they've just really created a really great community around their patterns. That is Colette Patterns. They're the same mother company there, but the Seamworks tend to be a little bit easier, a little quicker sews, but they're great basis for doing different variations and hacks and that sort of thing. And they have a lot of hack or variation pattern pieces that are available for a lot of their patterns if you want to do something a little bit different. And again, the hand holding there is fantastic, and they draft for a larger cup size. Like their standard is for a C cup, I believe. So it's a little easier to fit as well. If you're bigger bust, sorry, just assuming everyone has my issue. I know that's not the case. All right, next up, AK Patterns. So Athena is back. Athena Kaku is back. She closed her shop for a while in the fall because she got a teaching job in Crete and moved across her country. She is Greek and has just been, was like a last minute thing. So she had to set up a classroom. That's what her degree is in. She's just not been able to find a job due to their economy in her field. So she had to kind of shut down patterns a little bit while she was getting her footing there. However, she is back. She just came back. Oh my goodness, Snorri Pants. She came back with a new pattern, the Britney skirt, named after Britney J. Jones, and it is wonderful. I was actually a pattern tester for that way back when. And she has a new one that's coming out, and she's going to start doing cup sizes. I did a whole capsule or a whole module based on her patterns last summer. I really like her, and she's just got some great simple patterns that are wonderful for basis patterns, you know, that are great for doing different hacks and variations. And she is the queen of the hack. She has so much hand-holding information on her website for how to take her patterns and hack them to make them into all sorts of things. I mean, she is just has a real great library there on her website, and she is revamping all of that right now as well too. So I'm very excited to see that she is back. It's a good thing. So sorry, I'm trying to get the dog to quit snoring. She's so loud. Okay, and then finally I put on here the sewing workshop. So again, this is Linda Lee. She just has some really interesting patterns that are a lot a lot different than what you see out everywhere else. Her fitting is very generous. Her sizing is very generous. There were a lot of the patterns when I was out there last summer that I was surprised I liked as much as I did, but everything I put on I found super flattering. I also did a module of her patterns back in September, I think. September or October. I think it was a September though, where I made up 5 different patterns but made 6 different things out of those. And is that right? Yeah. Yeah, that's right. I'm trying to remember again. Yes. But her stuff is really great, and they're also a wonderful company to work with, as well as the tutorials and the hacks and the variations that they have for their patterns are also just mind-boggling. Their website is chock full of information on ways to alter their patterns, to hack their patterns, to just do different things with it, just with fabrication. I mean, they're just a wealth of knowledge over there. She's been doing some Facebook Live videos on a few things that are now up on YouTube. So if you go to her YouTube channel, there's just a couple videos that are up, but I think during this quarantine time, they've started doing that, and it is phenomenal. So highly recommend that as well. Okay, that wraps it up, I believe. I'm probably going to get off here and be like, oh no, I didn't mention that. I tried to be, I mean, I've been thinking about this for a couple of days, trying to make sure that I'm remembering everything. But there you have it. Those are some of my favorite fabric stores and independent pattern designers. So if you are new to the sewing, online sewing arena, I hope that you find those helpful. Leave any questions you have down below. I'm happy to answer those. Friday, we've got a pattern review for a new pattern release. It's a good one. And so that'll be on Friday. And then Sunday, I have got part 2 of the sew along that's coming up, of which I've been working hard on these camera angles. It's becoming like a personal mission now. So, you know, my whole goal with this channel is just to always make things as good as they can be. And while my learning curve is not keeping up with my standards quite like I want it to, we will get there. So, yeah, fixing some camera angles, that's hence the rearranging of the sewing room just a little bit. All right, I hope you guys have a wonderful Tuesday. If you're watching the daily vlogs, I will see you there. Otherwise, I will see you on Friday with an exciting new pattern. Okay, hope you guys have a good one. I'll see you then. Bye.